So now you're going to be learning about Node, which is awesome. Some things to, again, be reminded of and be aware of. When we talk about Node, we're really talking about the Node compiler that takes the JavaScript data or the JavaScript code that we wrote on our backend, really the JS files in the backend of our server, compiles it does JIT compiling, which we won't get into the details of. But anyways, it'll compile the code and run it as needed, depending on what you're running and how you've written your code, of course. So some things to be aware of, again, when we write Node, we are really just writing JavaScript code, but there are just some features, or rather some functions in JavaScript browser that you won't have in the Node, you won't have when you're writing in Node, and there are some things that there are additional in Node that you won't have in the JavaScript front end. But the greatest part of this is, again, the code JavaScript is really just on the front end of the back end, which is some minor changes or some minor differences. And the last thing I want to say is that this part is going to be a little tedious. You'll notice that all of the requests coming in with Node, you'll have to actually parse these requests and identify, where is this coming from? What kind of request is it? What kind of response do I want to send it? Where do I want to send the file from? Where is the file in my directory? And what kind of code do I want to send back as when I send back the file? Essentially, you're kind of writing the headers, or you are writing the headers back to the person that made the request to your server, telling it exactly what you want to respond to it, which is great to know that you have the power to do that, and you really have the power to do that in most stacks, but in Node it's pretty explicit. It's the only way to do it, really. So just be aware it'll be a little tedious, but it's well worth your time and effort to do this, because then you'll understand how it works. And then later on in the next chapter, when we talk about Express, and a lot of this stuff is done for you, you'll know that all of this can be configured differently, and you'll know that you'll be able to change it as needed. Great. Again, have some fun as much as possible. Make sure you ask questions as need be and understand Node. And you'll see later on it'll get a lot simpler and a lot easier to write, and definitely a lot faster to build applications.